The Audi A1 and the Citroën DS3 are both sporty, dynamic, and uniquely designed. The DS3 has a 1.6-liter gasoline engine that delivers 115 kilowatts of power under the hood. That motor can take the car from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 7.3 seconds. A sports chassis lets the DS3 hug the road and corner dynamically at speed. Citroën says average fuel consumption is 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers. The Audi's driven by a 1.4-liter 90-kilowatt TFSI engine. The compact shoots from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 8.9 seconds. Audi says, on average, the car consumes 5.3 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. The Audi takes curves with elegant agility as well because, in addition to the car's unusual designs, both manufacturers advertise their models as dynamic and sporty. Car tester Mattes Kuret says they took the cars to the ADAC Safety Center in Grevenbroich to find out if they could hold up to the hype. The slalom course is the first test, says Mattes. Both compacts have already proved themselves in normal driving conditions. A slalom around the cones is a chance to discover just how sporty they really are. Let's start with the Audi A1. Mattes describes how the Audi handles going around the cone, saying it understeers slightly but correcting that as a snap. So the A1's put in a convincing performance on curves. Now it's the DS3's turn. Mattes laments that the DS3's cornering is really hindered by its ESP system. He tries it again with the ESP off to see how the car handles then. He says handling without ESP is much more fluid, but without it, the DS3 understeers even more than the A1.
Aber das Auto untersteuert doch mehr als der A1.
Audi clearly won the first point.
Prüfung Nummer
Test 2, says Mattes, is acceleration. This time, it's Citroën first. The compact reaches a final speed of 93 kilometers per hour on the 100-meter test track. Then the Audi roars up to the start. But its bark is bigger than its bite. Despite the growl, it's at least 10 kilometers per hour slower than the Citroën. Mattes says that what the Audi gained in the slalom, the Citroën picked up in the acceleration test. That's down to 25 kilowatts more power that the Citroën can deliver. Now it's on to test 3, braking. The Citroën is first up again. The Sportster accelerates to 80 kilometers per hour. Then it's time to slam on the brakes. The Audi isn't far behind. The cars have almost identical braking distances. Mattes says that in braking at 80 kilometers per hour, the two cars are dead even. They're each given a point, meaning it's a 2-2 draw. Design becomes the deciding factor. As everyone knows, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The Citroën counts on individual design elements to attract attention. The brawny front end says sport, as does the splash of chrome trim on the doors. The distinctive tail lights are somehow reminiscent of the VW Polo, and buyers can pick the roof color they like. The Audi has a more angular look, but these designers also wanted a flashy radiator grille. The chrome can't be missed, nor can the sinuous LED daytime headlights that are an Audi trademark. The lines down the side are dynamic, and the roof line slopes down slightly at the back. The back of the A1 has been altered slightly. The It's been equipped with LED taillights featured on its bigger Audi counterparts. Only a glance at the two interiors is needed to see that sharper workmanship has gone into the Audi. But both cars' controls and displays are clearly visible and easily accessible. And both vehicles feature comfortable seating. Despite its smaller power unit, the Audi's engine has a louder growl. Mata says they've saved the biggest and best for last, trunk space. The Citroën DS3's trunk is quite acceptable, he says, but that's not the case with the Audi A1. Our tester says you can't really call it a trunk, it's more like a box. Too bad for the A1. The Citroën DS3 performs at almost the same level. It sells for less and is more versatile in terms of use. This isn't a run-of-the-mill B-Class Mercedes. It's been fitted out with a fuel cell stack, a component to take it on the road to emission-free local driving. To ensure consumer awareness about fuel cell automotive technology, Mercedes has sent the B-Class on a very special mission. But first, let's look back to January 30th, when Mercedes celebrated the 125th anniversary of the invention of the automobile. This is where the B-Class's 125-day mission began. Even German Chancellor Angela Merkel came by to see the vehicle off.
Und da startet sie. Die erste B-Klasse FCL World Tour hier in Stuttgart.
But can a hydrogen-powered car meet the demands of daily use? The tour will provide the answer. From Stuttgart, the FCL B-Class is crossing Europe to Spain, then Portugal. 3 cars will drive through 14 countries on 4 continents. Because there are only 200 hydrogen filling stations worldwide, escort vehicles are supplying fuel. Fill the tank up, and the FCL B-Class has a range of 400 kilometers. Herbert Kohler of Daimler says they are driving around the world with fuel cells to show that the technology is ready for series production, and to show and point out that hydrogen infrastructure is needed to make it work. He says the core of this power system is what's called a fuel cell. It produces electricity from hydrogen and oxygen. This electricity is used to power an electric engine that turns the wheels and makes drivers able to get around locally and emissions-free. After flying to North America, the trip will continue from Florida to California. Los Angeles is a leader when it comes to fuel cell technology. Here, the infrastructure is already set up. The hydrogen industry in the U.S. would already be able to provide enough fuel today to run some 40 million vehicles. The 100-kilowatt electric motor can produce some 290 newton-meters of torque. In conventional terms, the fuel cell-driven vehicle would need some 3.3 liters of diesel to go 100 kilometers. Kohler says that drivers are more conscious of how they drive, and with such an environmentally friendly power system, he's trying to use as little fuel as possible. That's already apparent to Mercedes customers, he says, and potential customers as well. The cars are being loaded up again because after traveling 7,500 kilometers across North America to California, this time the vehicles are flying to Australia. Mercedes says it put particular emphasis on safety when designing these cars. The hydrogen fuel tanks are sealed in what the company calls sandwich architecture in the floor. Daimler's Herbert Kohler says the vehicles being introduced here and driven around the world by journalists are premiering a technology that can be turned out en masse. He says there's just one more phase of development, and by 2015 or 2016, Mercedes will put this power system into its showrooms for private customers to buy.
und das ein privater Kunde entsprechend auch kaufen kann.
After the visit to Australia, the fuel cell-driven B-Class cars put in a timely appearance at the Shanghai Auto Show in Asia. But they still have 14,000 kilometers of road left to travel until the premier mini-series fleet is back at home in Stuttgart in June. Volvo's Universe Design Study gives car fans a preview of how the Swedish car maker's top-flight sedans could look in future. The appearance of the four-door luxury sedan marks a new departure in Volvo design, without failing to pay homage to the lines of classic models. The rear is reminiscent of a two-door, and the doors open in opposition. A wheelbase of 3 meters means there's plenty of room inside, too. Porsche is introducing the Cayman R, the sportiest member of the Cayman family. The mid-engine coupe is powered by a 3.4-liter enhanced performance 6-cylinder engine that packs a 243-kilowatt wallop. 55 kilos lighter than the Cayman S, it can sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 5 seconds. The Cayman R sells for just under 70,000 euros in Germany. Small, cute, and agile. Those are the attributes that help the Autobianchi A112 lay the groundwork for a new model segment. When the A112 was introduced in the fall of 1969, car lovers got more than just an Italian version of Britain's Mini. Our test driver says it's summer, the sun's shining, and you're driving through the mountains of South Tyrol in an Autobianchi A112. What could be better? You could zip along all the way to Rimini and treat yourself to a gelato, but you must really put the pedal to the metal to reveal the car's Italian temperament. The A112 was the first truly drivable super mini. It was produced by Fiat subsidiary Autobianchi, which functioned as a test lab for new car concepts in the 1960s. Fiat's first front-wheel drive vehicle, the Primula, was also created by Autobianchi in 1964. This A112 has a 32-kilowatt transversely mounted 4-cylinder engine with a capacity of 903 cubic centimeters. Our driver says the car's biggest weakness is the transmission. Many people say it's a bit clunky, but our tester doesn't notice that. He says the ride is comfortable and the car takes curves well. He says the suspension's not as stiff as the Mini Coopers or other cars of its kind. But then the Mini was a real race car. In the 1960s, the little British pocket rocket won the Monte Carlo Rally 3 times in a row. Still, the first Minis to roll off the production lines in 1959 were designed to be practical, everyday vehicles. The car's designer, Sir Alec Izagonis, wanted to pack 4 people and their belongings into a car just 3 meters long. In 1969, a decade after the Mini, the Autobianchi appeared on the scene. In the 1980s, the company started to market the A112 as a Lancia. Our driver says people who can build a city like this must also be able to build good cars. The Autobianchi is at home in little Italian alleyways like this. Italy has a long tradition of producing small cars. The Fiat Nuova 500 brought mobility to an entire nation and reduced car driving to its very essentials. The little car rolled off the assembly lines for almost 2 decades, from 1957 to 1976. The A112, like the Fiat 500, was the baby of designer Dante Giacosa. Our driver says if anyone can build small cars, it's the Italians. The English have their Mini, but everything that annoys him about the Mini, the A112 does better. It's bigger, 13-inch tires make the ride more comfortable, and he says it has a real hatchback, and that handyman types will love the fold-down rear seats. He says it's almost the size of a truck back here, and the gas tank's found in front of the rear axle. He adds that the car offers lots of space and great views. It's super, he says. 32 kilowatt engine has little trouble propelling the 685 kilo lightweight around. The car originally sold for around 2,500 euros. The only extra was the tachometer. When the A112 came onto the market in 1969, our driver says it was the only serious Super Mini. It's a real car that drives well. Even today, he adds. It's great fun to drive, too. This Auto Bianchi A112 has now earned a place of honor in the Zeithaus Museum's collection of automotive milestones in Wolfsburg.